Mike Vrabel has been working hard in Indianapolis, doing a lot of things on behalf of the Tennessee Titans, but also on behalf of the NFL competition committee work.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of work, a lot of meetings, right?
There's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of information. You gather a lot of information and you try to listen. And there are a lot of reports. And at the end of the day, it's our charge to do what's best for the game and for the future of the game.
You have such a unique perspective when it comes to filing through some of those reports that you're giving, because you get the coach's perspective and also the player's perspective. How does that impact the way that you kind of evaluate some of the things that come across your desk as a part of the competition committee?
Well, I think it's always important when you make decisions, whether it's for our football team or input that we would have towards the game, is to try to listen and understand everybody's position, use the research, the data, the analytics, and try to all tie it back into, most importantly, player health and safety and what's going to be best for our players and for our game. So, you try to gather information and then make the decision that's best for the game.
Much discussion about making the punt play safer. Would that start with maybe not letting the gunners release, or are there other options?
Well, there's a lot of options. I think that safety is always going to be at the forefront. We appreciate the data. I've certainly appreciated the data. Tried to do our own study with our team and what we went through last year and how we can prepare better and try to help our team stay as healthy as possible. So, there'll be a lot of things that are discussed, and we'll have the input from special teams coaches, from players, and everyone else on the committee.
In light of recent games, there's also a lot of conversation about overtime rules.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance wanting to make it fair and equitable, but also kind of preserving what has been for the entirety of the NFL?
And these decisions, I think, in conversations come up, and you look at the frequency in which they come up. You try to use the data. And when we talk about overtime, there's the coin toss or first possession touchdowns and when those occur and what the numbers are in the regular season and the postseason. So, there'll be a lot of discussion, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of proposals that we'll work through.
New members to the competition committee often express the fact that their eyes are opened on certain things when they go into those meetings. Anything surprise you that you have learned as you have started into this role on the competition committee?
No, I don't think anything surprised me. I just think that maybe the magnitude of what everybody else is doing around the job that maybe you and I have with our football team, right? You guys cover us, and but where there's numerous doctors that and analytical data of officiating and how all that plays into our game.
It's been a while since we've had a chance to talk to you, and you have, since the last time we spoke, received a contract extension with John Robinson and also received the award of Coach of the Year. While, of course, it's not a one-person award necessarily, it has to feel good to get recognized and acknowledged after what was a challenging season.
Yeah, every year is challenging. Come on, we know that. It always is. You want to be recognized. For winning championships, and I've said this numerous times. This is a reflection of our players and our coaches that took players that came in on Wednesday and got them ready to make significant contributions to the football team on Sunday. So much so that as we have done our cut-ups and our self-scout, that we would probably needed a flip card for some of these guys. Somebody was like, well, who's that? And we had to really rack our brain to remember which player that was at that point in time in the season.
For us,
I'm sure it was hard for you on game day.
It was like doing preseason games for 17 weeks with 90-something guys. As you have done the cut-ups and you've done the breakdowns and the coaching staff back in the office working through it, where is your focus in terms of reviewing 2021 and trying to apply correction or improvement toward 2022?
Yeah, we've made it and I've made a huge effort. We want to continue down the path of being able to teach and develop and inspire through relationships. And what makes this NFL difficult is after we lost, the next week there wasn't a mat drill at 6 a.m. and the ability to have breakfast with a player. Players leave, and we can continue to have conversations with them, albeit about things outside of football and through text message and phone calls. And so, I encourage our staff to do that. I know how important that is. And we're always trying to do things to become better teachers, and the drills that we're using that apply to the skills that they're going to need to help us on the field.
In the National Football League, there's always turnover. How do you balance wanting to keep a successful roster in place while also adding in some fresh blood, some new skill set to positions where you might need it?
Yeah, I think that's the challenge that John and I have, and his staff and the coaching staff combine at different parts in the player acquisition process, whether that be through free agency or the draft, and most importantly the post-draft, where you can really take advantage. And we've had some of those players that have made significant contributions to our football team that weren't drafted or weren't here at the combine.
We always have respect for opponents. For example, last season when we signed Danico Autry, we were thrilled we didn't have to play him anymore.
We were able to finally get him.
That's right, because we had such respect for him. Same with Tim Kelly. Adding Tim Kelly from Houston, a guy that we've had respect for because we've seen what he's done with the Texans offense. What do you hope he adds in that offensive mix?
Well, adding Jim Schwartz, let's go back, and then just adding Jim to our overall staff, but our defensive staff was something that I didn't really do early on, and I felt like the time was right, the person was right, the opportunity was there, and I saw the impact that it made with our coaching staff during the week and on game day, and how that role really, that was what I had envisioned for it. And so when the opportunity to get a guy like Tim, who has experience and I have a relationship and trust with, I know that he'll be able to help our offensive football team and our football team in general.
The willingness to tinker with maybe the coaching staff, add those positions, same with the roster, kind of add positions where need to be. Is that what has made you so successful, this organization so successful, the willingness to make changes in the offense?
Well, you have to be able to make change. I think it's inevitable. Skill sets, contracts, there's so much that goes into what the roster looks like each year. And what our roster looks like today won't be the same that it looks in 2 weeks, and then what it looks like on September 1st. So we understand that. I think we all have, including me, a lot more patience for what that product is going to look like.
What is a player interview like with the Tennessee Titans here at the Combine?
Oh, they're fun. I mean, you try to figure out who these guys are, and if they have any, if I try to determine whether I would like to look at this player or ask that player a question in the team meeting. And that's what I have to ask myself, and then we move on from how if they can play and what their skill set is. There's a certain personality that I think that I'm drawn to, and not to say that that's the end all be all, but it can go in a lot of different directions. I try not to have it a script. I know John doesn't. I wait for him to get it started, and then I kind of take it, and then the coaches will go, or the other scouts will go.
How nice is it to be in person, old-fashioned style?
Well, it is nice, but I think the technology has allowed us more time with them, and to be able to follow up and say, hey, what do you remember from that conversation that we had in March, and see what their recall is, and see what their willingness is to engage with us.
Overall, your approach to the Combine, most important things for you as the head coach to get done here?
I think just continue to make connections with these players and see who responds. Who do you see a few days later? The demeanor that they have walking around, how they answer questions, their willingness to be truthful, the self-awareness that they have, a lot of different things.
Coach Mike Vrabel with us at TennesseeTitans.com.